Hey, what's up? Welcome back to the Mental Edge Training Coach podcast here with Chad Hermansen. Today, I'm going to interview Noah Hall. Noah Hall has played 16 years in the minor leagues and parts of independent league, just a flat out grinder, right? 16 years. Unfortunately, he didn't get to the big leagues, but just the fact that he stuck around for as long as he did and was good enough to play in the big leagues, but just didn't get that opportunity. My hat goes off to a guy like this that just continues to keep playing. We're going to learn from him about kind of his grind, right? His process of what he went through, the ups and downs of being a pro player, and what he's doing now as far as helping kids out in Charlotte, North Carolina. So we're going to enjoy this conversation with Noah, learn a lot from him, some hitting philosophies, and some of our stories together that we played together when we were in Syracuse back in 2004 together. And of course, as always, if you're looking to get coaching on the mental game, May is starting here. Things were really blowing up for me in April, where I had a lot of new kids. A lot of parents are reaching out to me. Players are struggling, right? Players are struggling with their mental game. They're struggling with their emotional side of it. The tool that I'm teaching with this self-coaching model has been really fantastic. I'm teaching kids as young as 10 years old this tool. And the cool thing is they're getting it. And when I coach 10-year-olds, typically the younger players, they actually they want to go share it with mom and dad. They're like, Mom and Dad, look what I learned. And so not only am I teaching 10-year-olds, I'm teaching college players as well as coaching the parents through maybe some of their issues that they might have going on, not even necessarily regarding the kid in the baseball, right? But maybe something that's going on with them. They're able to now implement the self-coaching model into their life. And so we're working through that process too. So you can go to chadhermansoncoaching.com to apply for that. And I will personally text you to set up a call. So make sure you just fill out all that information. Make sure you include your name as the parent and of course your player's name. So enjoy this conversation with Noah Hall. All right, Mr. Noah Hall. What's up, dude? How we doing?
What's up, bro? How's it going?
Doing
Good to
awesome.
see you.
It's good to see you, man. It's
Yeah.
been, we were reminiscing. It was 2004
Oh man.
when we played with
Whoa.
each other. We
I
were
know.
little boys
Oh
almost.
man. We were so young. I wish I knew what I know
But
now.
you look exactly the same. What's up with
No,
that?
thanks. So do you, bro. Besides the beard and the no hair. No.
Little grays.
Yeah, a little gray. Well, hey, I've
Lots of gray,
shaved,
actually.
okay? You don't want to see you look through my YouTube and you'll see my gray. Okay, there's some
There you
gray in
go. There you go. Yeah, you've always been the clean shaven dude. So
there. I like to be clean shaven for the most
there you
part.
go.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
cool. So you're out in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Right. Yeah. It's
Nice.
great
So
out here. This is baseball and softball country for that matter. So it's
yeah.
really nice out here. Yeah. I
Yeah.
love
Have
it.
you ever lived in the West Coast or always in the East Coast?
Oh yeah. So I grew up in the West Coast. So I grew up in California, in Santa Cruz,
Yeah.
California. So south of San Jose, and obviously San Francisco's up there. But yeah, I grew up in Santa Cruz. It's a skateboard and hippie capital of the world, probably old school. But yeah, it was a good place to grow up, and loved it there. I couldn't afford it now, and we love Charlotte. Charlotte's pretty awesome. And like I said, super. They love baseball and softball out here, so it helps a lot. And then, but I love Cali. Just going back there occasionally. I haven't been back in a while, but that's
Yeah.
where my roots are, and a lot of my family's still back there. My mom's there and stuff.
Love it. Yeah. So you've been one thing that I wanted to get you on the show. Number one, we were teammates and we had a fun time together. And what we were both describing is probably our, at least for me, I don't for you, but my worst professional career year, just with like things that happen and stuff like that. And so we were outfielders together and trying to work through some crap,
Yeah.
kind of individually injuries, different things like that. We'll eventually get to that and kind of talk about that, how that all went down. But let's go all the way back, dude, to like you're in California. Share with us your story about, getting drafted, going through the drafting process. And you mentioned back then in 95, 96 that they did the draft and follow,
Right.
which many people don't even know what that is anymore. So walk
Yeah,
us through
good
that whole
thing.
process.
Yeah, good thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think back, it all worked out the way it should. Actually, I don't really overthink oh, if I would have gotten back into the draft, I would have been drafted by this team or this at this, in
Yeah.
this round or whatever, because that was the idea. But yeah, so the whole process, I ended up, I played all just to start a little before. I only started playing baseball at 12 years old, and
Mm,
so pretty late for most people. So I
yeah.
have a good in on anyone that starts late, and I see them as a hitting coach, and I'm like, they're 12, 13, 14. I have a 14-year-old. I had a 15-year-old the other day, just first
Right
time,
on.
never played
Okay.
ever. And then so it's never actually, well, I guess it could be too late eventually, but to really get there. But when you're young and you're still in your youth, you still have time, is all it is. And I actually ended up watching baseball before I started playing baseball. So I was a fan of it a little bit first. And then
Hmm.
I ended up going out for the league, and all that. Good story here too. I struck out, or I didn't swing and hitting one pitch in batting practice. They had the machine,
Yeah.
doing VP tryouts. I couldn't hit one. I didn't hit one, man. So think about that. Not one. Did you not pick me up because I didn't hit one? No, you still draft me because I had potential. And then
Right.
sure enough, I led the home league in home runs. So it was pretty cool. Yeah. But
Wow.
but anyway,
Okay.
so I started there. Yeah, I got to high school, made we had a freshman JV and varsity back then. So I don't think
Mm,
that's happening many
big
places
school.
anymore.
Was it a big
Yeah.
school that allowed that?
I guess there was considered a decently sized school, but most schools had that though. And at
Yeah.
least Santa Cruz County,
Okay.
I'm sure things have changed. I haven't heard of that again. It's usually just JV and varsity. It's probably too expensive and no, not enough coaches. A lot of stuff,
Or fields, right? So even
fields,
accommodate
yeah,
that.
field time, all that stuff. So, anyways, I got up, called up to varsity as a freshman. Hit 613. That's all.
That's it.
That's it.
Can't even hit 700.
I know what's wrong with me. I went 3 for 4 one game, and my average dropped. I remember they announced it. They're like,
Dang.
oh, it's like crazy. So,
Yeah.
anyways, a little bit false, confidence there, thinking how good I was at first. But I was. To be honest, I did step it up, man. I remember getting up there, and I was just super focused and just like, I gotta fit in. I gotta not just fit in, but I gotta be like a leader here,
Mhm.
for myself, and I had like a bit of a chip for no good reason. I just thank the Lord that He gave me a chip, and guys weren't doubting me exactly. I mean, in
Okay.
my area, I was always one of the better athletes
Okay.
in the whole area. But like I also knew that I knew I wanted to make it. You know what I mean? And actually, it's crazy. Before I even kind of like that 12-year-old season, I remember thinking I want to make it to the pros. you
Yeah.
know, and already because it was so fun, and just exciting. So anyways, and not to get into everything there with the high school and all that, but got through high school, of course, just kept sophomore year, by the way, I hit 308. How do you like that? So like sophomore slump.
And you went way downhill.
I mean, God, now I suck, obviously. Now I'm not any good. But anyways, that being said, the junior senior
The
year, I didn't
secret's
play this.
out. Now
What's
they're
that?
now they're pitching you differently. They're like, hey,
No,
watch
no,
out.
no. That was just me.
No?
That was my issues. That was
Okay.
mine. That was
All right.
nothing. Nobody else did anything. That was all me. That's all me. Just not putting it together, really. You
Gotcha.
know what happened, and I'm not gonna. I shouldn't blame these guys because I whatever. They were our coaches. New coaches came in.
Mm,
They were teaching some styles of hitting, and I was trying, and it just wasn't quite working for me. They were
okay.
overemphasizing, and I know now being a hitting guy, they're overemphasizing the legs usage. And what happened was I was overusing my legs and just taking me out of position basically is all it was, and it was jacking me up, and I just struggled and whatever. I got sick that year. I remember I had mono as a sophomore.
Mm,
So things were
yeah.
happening, leading
Sure.
into that season. Actually, now that I think of it, so that might have had part of it. But yeah, I was just not real strong. So, anyways, I was also playing basketball, football, basketball, and baseball. So then junior year, I decided to just start playing football and baseball. So there was a nice space in between, and then I could train for baseball. And anyways,
Okay.
I did good the next 2 years, So I was MVP of the league, all that stuff. Got drafted, by the Expos. Getting back to that, in the 27th round, I didn't know. To be honest, there was only one scout that ever showed up, and it was the Expos. Okay, so that was
Okay.
just it, and that's how I
Yeah.
got drafted. One guy, So it wasn't a ton of people, and that's kind of crazy to think too, man. Is like good as I was doing, one scout, like one,
Mm,
and that was it. That's what you get. And it wasn't a big pitcher, obviously. I was an outfielder and just hit 6 home runs, hit four something, whatever. I did good.
okay.
Did great, I guess you'd say. But then I went to junior college because I went to San Jose City College. And what happened with the Expos was they called me, I had a meeting with them. They just said, hey, we kind of want you to go to college in your JUCO and go, you know, prove you can do it there, type of deal. And I kind of want to do the same, just to know
Yeah.
that I could hit real pitching, because in high school, you never know what you're going to see, at least back then. And so anyways, they didn't even give me an offer. They gave me no money offer, nothing. It was
Okay.
27th round. You could, I guess they could have tried to give me something and just sneak me in, but they didn't. So went to JUCO, and I had a really good year. I mean, I don't know, how it is now. It's so easy to look up stats and things, but man, I was told, I have no idea if this is true, I think I led supposedly all JUCOs in home runs, like as a hitter, which
Nice.
tells me I probably should ask for a little bit more money by the
Right.
Expos.
Yeah.
But I had 15 home runs in like 40 games or something like that. And I don't know if it was at that
Yeah.
time what year, whatever. It was really
That's
good.
solid. Yeah.
Yeah, it was very solid. And I was leading off, so I was getting a ton of at bats too. So it was just good for me. And so that after that season, right before the next year's draft, again getting back to the draft and follow, they ended up offering me some money, and it was good enough, for me at the time. One of
Mhm.
my advisors said, "No, you should hold out for more," and I'm like, I just want to go. And looking back, I probably could have gotten just a bit more, if I wanted to, but I got about 30 G's, and then put it away, and then took it out and lost it all. No, wasted. You know how it is when you're young.
Absolutely.
You
Yeah.
just initially put it in mutual funds, let it, eventually just kept taking it out, and before you
Mhm.
know it, it's gone. So
You got to get your hats, and like your
oh yeah, just go. You
shoes,
gotta be
Jordans.
spiffy. Yeah, you gotta look
You
good.
got to take care of yourself a little bit.
Yeah,
Maybe
you
get
got
a
to take care of
car.
yourself.
Yeah.
But one of my suggestions is, when you're young, just keep the money in the accounts. Keep it
Yeah.
in the stocks if you want, But
Yeah.
anyways, that whole process, I just knew I was basically playing for, in a way, for to get paid a little bit. And then I just really, it wasn't about the money, it was about making it to a pro. I wasn't even that's why I was so naive about the money. I just didn't really overthink it too much. I was like, I just want to go pro. So I was just ready to go. So then I signed. So I signed before the next year's draft, basically, and that
Mhm.
was the option. You basically, every team that drafted you could hold on to you pretty much until that next year's draft, and that was it. So if I had gone back in the draft, who knows? I don't know. Nobody knows.
Yeah. Did you
So
ever have thoughts of like, hey, I'm doing so well as a junior college player, like 15 bombs, that okay, maybe the next step before that is getting to a big D1 type school. Was
oh
there any of
yeah.
those thoughts?
Yeah, no, nope,
Yeah.
nope. Well, okay, let me say that right. A little bit. There was one of our pitching coach, Eric Coleman, his sister, I believe, was a softball player at LSU.
Mm,
So that was a slight in, like as in, I think he had talked to them a little bit about some of us that were doing really well there. And then obviously that would have been great. And then the other school that was kind of just random, I don't know how this worked out, but like USC, so
yeah.
South Carolina, South California, Southern
Yeah.
California. I'm used to USC out here in
Okay.
South Carolina. But anyways, and that was the other team I was kind of like not talking to, but I had somebody knew me from there, and then maybe there was gonna something might happen, but nothing happened, and I just really was focused on going pro. I didn't really.
Sure.
It didn't sound right to go anywhere else except pro for me, because I knew physically I was ready, and then I just needed to prove I could hit on the field, which I did obviously that year. So
Yeah. Okay. So you have this draft and follow. They draft you in 95. They don't offer you anything. You go through junior college and the Expos still have your rights, right? And so they
yeah.
say, okay, now the rule is you have to sign before the draft of the 96 year, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
they offer you that money. Now they don't do that anymore. The draft and follow. In fact, it's been
I
gone
don't know
for
when.
quite a while, I
I
think.
was gonna say,
Like,
I wonder when that stopped. It's probably
yeah,
around
I,
that end.
I mean, maybe even like around 2000. I think it's been
Yeah,
gone
pretty
for
quick.
quite a while.
Yeah.
And you were saying for good reason, right? And what do you mean
Just
by that?
yeah. Well, I don't know. I guess it just maybe other teams could take a better look at you and just know, hey, this guy will be available, or you just know earlier that this guy's available, and then you get better looks. That's all.
Sure.
And like I
Yeah.
said, man, I hit 15 home runs that year. I don't, if you think about it.
You're making noise, right? Like
Right. And, and
more
and
scouts teams
social
would be
media was
interested.
out there at that time. I would have been pretty sick, because you could have had
Yeah.
all the videos showing all the home runs, and
Mhm.
the stock would have gone up, to be honest. I probably would have, And I don't know, man. I wasn't a scout back then, so I don't really,
Yeah,
really know. But I'm just saying, I probably, I would have been probably top 10 round at least. You'd think, you
sure.
know what I mean,
Yeah,
for
and you would have
leading
been just
JUCOs
been
in
better.
California in home runs ish.
Yeah,
Anyways, I think that would have worked out pretty good for me, But again, it's all worked out great in general, but just back then, maybe if I hadn't, I had a guy. It was one of our coaches with the San Jose City, Steve Meredith, and he just suggested, hey, you should hold out for a hundo, a
mhm,
little more money, because you're kind of worth it. And I just, it's cool. I don't really think about it like that anymore. Like, oh, I should have
sure.
done that. Mad
Yeah,
about it. It's not. It's over. It's not even a
yeah.
big deal now. So
Yeah, so you start playing in '96, so it's the first year of what would become, 16 years, right, of
yeah.
playing professional baseball,
Oh my gosh.
right, which
Yeah.
is just amazing. There's not too many guys that play that long, and they grind it out as long as you do, right,
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
doing every possible thing to get to your dream and get to the big leagues, and so you're in the Expos organization. I was gonna pull this up real quick just to kind of give you guys an idea of. I'm gonna name off all the teams you play for.
Oh no.
This might take a few
This is
minutes.
where I start doing it with my hands. I'm like, and I start
Yeah.
losing track. I can't do it.
Okay. And we won't worry about the years, but this is going to be from 1996 to 2011.
All right.
Okay. And this is what it's telling me. So in the Montreal organization from 96 to 2000, you played for two teams: West Palm Beach in Vermont, Jupiter, Cape Fear, Jupiter again, Harrisburg, Jupiter, Louisville. Now you're getting into the
Thank
Reds
you, Jupiter.
organization, right? So
Yeah.
Louisville, St. Paul, and then you
That's independent ball. So that was my first year in independent ball.
independent
Yeah.
ball 2001,
Yep.
and then you looks like you get back to the Reds,
Yep.
right? Now you go to Chattanooga, and then to
Yep.
Stockton, and then to the Reds. So maybe some injuries in there.
So what happened there was I got picked up right at the end of our independent ball season. Again, I had a good year. Got picked up by the Reds right at the end. Went to AAA for a day actually, and where I met Raul Gonzalez for the first time, who was one of my old friends and fellow like he got to the big leagues, but man, that guy, I think he has more minor league at bats than I do or something. Like he's got tons. This guy was crazy. He hit literally
Yeah.
299 as a minor leaguer. I mean,
Okay.
goodness, the guy's
Right.
so good. But yeah, so I was there only for like a day. Oh, that's what happened. I was there. And then they sent me to Stockton because they were in the playoffs, and so I went and helped them, and then and then I went. What happened? And then I went home, and they were going to call me back, and it was during 9/11 happened, and
Oh yeah.
so
Yeah. Okay.
they were about to call me. They were like, "Hey, be ready to come back to Louisville or whatever," and anyways, it just didn't happen, obviously. So
Yeah.
that
Lot of
that
stuff
was just
happened
that season.
after
It's a
that.
weird little common things going on.
Yeah.
A lot of things happening at once, right there.
Well, and that's what's interesting, right? When you look at like you can see like, okay, AAA, double A, single A, and like because there's always a story behind what happened, right?
Oh
There's
man.
an injury or a release or something. So everybody's we go Chattanooga, Stockton, Reds, Harrisburg, right? And then Syracuse 2004. That's when we played together.
Yeah, yeah,
That's a
yeah.
AAA with the Blue Jays. And then you're going Winston-Salem, Bowie,
Yeah.
Bowie,
The boat. Yeah.
Trenton, Somerset. Somerset's in the
That's it.
independent league.
Yep.
Now in Charlotte, which sounds like now you fell in love with the city that
Yeah, we
you're
love
in.
Charlotte.
So
We love Charlotte.
Charlotte, Birmingham, West Tennessee, Trenton, Somerset, Camden.
Yeah, finish it
Right?
off in Camden.
Yeah, that's some serious. And then we were laughing, not laughing, but we're like, I wonder how many at bats I had. So plate appearances, you had over 6,389 plate appearances,
Whoa. Oh, darn.
5,355 at bats,
There we go. Yeah.
and
A lot of
16
walks in there at the beginning of my career too. I was Mr. Walk. I
walking machine.
was so
Yeah.
good.
So number one, what that says just to me, like you had this goal, you had this dream, and you're gonna I'm gonna do whatever it takes to get me there, and I'm gonna do this for as long as I can till they tell me. Is it kind of like till they take the jersey off my back? Like I'm going
Pretty
as long as
much.
I can. What was your
Yeah.
mindset?
Or you can't, provide for your family. One of the two. Yeah, I was just the mindset was and I tell people this a lot lately, and I realize it. I was a slow learner a little bit, like in a way
Mm.
of I had so many ways to hit. I didn't have the right approach at first. That's what I was saying about all the walks. I was too patient. I was way, way, way too patient. I was really good at it. If there was a Hall of Fame for patience and
Yeah.
two strike hitting and battling and all that and getting on base, I would have made it. I would have been
So
one of the best.
explain that a little bit. So when you say you were too patient, like, so what was the hitting approach, would you say?
So what I realized one of my strengths was, and this happened at a young age and then through high school and all that, and I was always cool with it, was just I had a good eye, classic, oh, you got a good eye, you just don't swing at a lot of bad pitches, and I was that guy. And
Okay.
so I prided myself on it, and I really just kind of eventually started overusing that strength and ability, with my eye, and not being, swinging at some crap, I'd say, or some bull,
Mhm.
whatever, swinging at the pitcher's pitch or whatever,
Sure.
what it did, unfortunately, did get me on base. Now I'm not gonna. It did get me on base, and it made me a good two-strike hitter because I wasn't afraid to take a strike. So that there was some quality things that came out of it, but the issue with what it was is my timing was off, and I
Mm.
couldn't be on time for fastballs typically because I was waiting around too long. That's why I was such a good off-speed hitter, because as soon as it was I was always kind of set up to read it long anyway, so the off speed didn't fool me or nothing. So that was
Sure.
why part of the reason hit off speed so good. But
Okay.
anyways, I realized it slowed me down, made me decide too much, and you know how it is. There's not enough time to think like that. You have to get moving. You have to commit to the pitch, is what I say now. I don't care about balls and strikes. It's very ironic, but I'm almost exact opposite the way I used to be as a hitter. I teach differently now. I teach to stay ready early, first pitch on. You know what I mean? Let's not mess around. You need to take a pitch for time and do it. Okay, I'm not against.
Right.
I have some
Yeah.
parts of like I get your skill. You want to just get a feel for it. Fine, take a pitch. But then after that, it's go time. There is no more let up. There's no more like we can't let that pitcher get away with nothing. And it turned out and you can look through my stats like you are right there, the year that I really figured it out, you could see because I hit 26 home runs, I hit 332, led the minor leagues in runs scored, and didn't even play a month of the season because I got released that spring by the Yankees. These
Wow.
guys, and
Wow.
then and that's the year I went to Winston Salem. So, anyways, I went off that year. It was single A. Okay, I get it. It wasn't the highest level, but it wasn't about that. I could have done that at the pro level. I mean, the big league level or AAA, or it didn't matter because it was my mindset. Physically, I
Right.
was ready to go. Everything was good. And I just told myself that year, because I was so tired of getting released. And I was just like, I got to do something different. This is not working. And so I was like, let's do something different. I'm like, I'm going to be ready to hit for the first pitch to the last. And I'm going to be aggressive. I was always aggressive swinging. I always like to take a good hack, but I was so late a lot of times. I would shoot balls the other way, get away with it occasionally, and
Yeah.
not always. So I ended up that season kind of opened my eyes to like, oh, this is the way to hit. But unfortunately, I was in my prime, and I was in single A. So then next year I had to go back to double A again. And so
Mhm.
it was just one of those cycles, I couldn't ever get it consistent. And that was what my main issue was there, for a while. I didn't get it at first. I had too many ways to hit, and that style just I'm not down with that anymore. And it turned out I ended up walking a ton that season because I was so dangerous. You know what I mean? And so I was more aggressive. I still had a good eye, and then everything came together for me.
Mm.
And it's not just because, oh, that's the way I hit, so everybody else should hit that way. No, but it's the mindset. It was just the mindset and the ability to be ready to hit. And you know how it is those pitchers, they're trying to throw over the plate early. Let's get them. Let's get them.
Yeah.
They
What are we
sometimes
waiting
just flip
for?
that curveball or some weak pitch, and they're just like, hey, let's just see if we can get away with this. Don't let them get away with it. So that's more my mentality now as a hitting coach. And it's better. It's just
Yeah.
better. Yeah.
Yeah. So and you've transitioned of 16 years of pro ball are you doing hitting full time now with your
Yeah, yep. Yeah, that's
yeah.
all I do. I mean, I can mix in some basic defense and other things. I'm very qualified to do everything I need to do.
Mhm.
I can do some pitching and catching, but I have other people around here that I send my clients to, even just because
Yeah.
they get advanced. I'm not, I don't want to, I could do it. I could totally do it. I just like to focus on the hitting now. That's my niche, no doubt. And, eventually I'd like to expand it back into pro ball eventually,
Mm.
because I'm telling you, bro, I got this eye now. I can see it all. I can see it
Yeah.
all. So it's great. And I want to use it to, for the highest levels eventually. But for now, I'm focusing on the youth around here.
Sure.
And just I feel good about that. I really enjoy that. It's fun to just see the smiles and they're like when they start getting, I'm telling you, man, I'd say about every lesson I've had in the last almost like 5, 6, 10 months, um, they're getting it. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Quickly. Within the first 15 to 20 minutes, I'm getting them to at least get it together for one swing, and then they get a routine. And I'm telling you, it's really cool. So
Yeah.
it's pretty exciting for me for what I'm doing.
Yeah. Let's dive into real quick our season together in Syracuse, where we met, and then we're gonna dive more into the hitting parts of what you're doing with the kids. And so 2004, we now correct me if I'm wrong. Were you with the Blue Jays in spring training with us?
Yes. So I
You-
was, yeah. So we were
Yeah.
in big league camp. So I was in big league camp there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I
Um,
I was always in the training room. So I
okay. Okay. Oh, you were the reason I was getting so many at bats, probably
there you
too.
go. There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
But yeah, so like looking back right on that year, and like I said, it was a very miserable year for me. I was not in a good frame of mind. I had come from where was I? I was with the Dodgers the year before. Had a really good year in AAA. Still, I'm like recovering from my shoulder labrum surgery. Um, just really struggling to just be able to throw every day. But it was kind of crappy. It just didn't feel
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
But hit well enough to get up to and down with the Dodgers, throughout that year. Become a free agent, so the Dodgers didn't want to re-sign me, so they let me go. Sign with the Blue Jays, um, thinking like, okay, yeah, I might get a shot with an AL team. I know they're in the what's the International League, right?
Oh, yeah.
And AAA is what they call
Rough,
that. I
rough
spent
hitting league. It's a
I
rough.
spent so much time in the
Oh,
PCL.
yeah. Right. Yeah. That was your spot.
So it was a whole new, interesting scenario for me, and it's all East Coast, right?
And then Syracuse on top of that.
Syracuse, yeah. So I remember, so we were in big league camp. We make the Syracuse team, right? Kind of an interesting thing. I think it's because I maybe played so well in Vegas, but if you kind of remember the scenario, we had um, kind of remembering that we had so Vernon Wells, Jason Worth, um, who were the other outfielders there? Um,
um, Kelly, Frank. No. Oh man, I'm sorry. I'm
I
forgetting
should
who
have
the
looked it up
outfield.
prior to, but
I know. I know. I know. Yeah.
but the
I,
outfield was pretty solidified. Like
yeah. Yeah.
there were some dudes out there, right?
Yeah.
And Vernon Wells leading the way. Um,
Reed Johnson was there.
Reed Johnson,
Reed
who's
Johnson
like
was
the one of the
fast. He could hit a little. He's
yeah,
fast.
like
Um,
epitome of a fourth, fifth outfielder. Can
Yeah, and then there's a lefty guy. I'm forgetting his name. Longer Italian name, but anyways, he was a good hitter. Just kind of smoked the
yeah,
ball around, lefty, good hitter.
yeah. So like
But then they
just like
also got all those guys got hurt at one point too during the season. I remember, and
yeah.
it's when I was hurt too, and you might have been hurt too, or maybe that's when you went up. But everything
Yeah,
was happening a lot, and we're anyways.
a
A lot of
lots
guys went
going
down.
on, just like in every spring training. Um and I was playing okay. I think I got a few at bats in there, but I knew like playing center field, I could always, we always played the outfield well. And but I remember, if you remember Simon Pond,
Oh
right?
yes, oh yeah.
Simon Pond,
Talk
Canadian,
about him sometimes too.
that I never heard of him before going into the Blue Jays thing, and this dude just went off in
No,
spring
remember
training.
that? I
And
remember that
I don't
spring.
know how many home runs he hit, but let's say like 5 or 6 in
Dude.
a matter of like 2 weeks or something.
Yep.
And now everyone's talking about like, dude, this guy might make the big league team out of
Yep.
spring training.
Yep.
And he did,
He
right?
did.
And
Yep.
so, and we were kind of getting toward the end of big league camp, like the season's getting down to it. Um, and Frank Catalanato.
That's it.
That's
I
who it
said
was.
it right. I said Frank, and I was like, yeah, that was it. Yep. Good
So
hit.
and I didn't know Frank well at all, but just from playing against him a little bit in spring training and stuff. But I don't know if you remember this. So Jason Worth is still there, and he gets traded. He gets traded to the Dodgers.
Oh yeah.
And that's when Jason Worth, because Jason hadn't really solidified himself in the big leagues yet. This is before the Dodgers. This is
Yeah,
before
right.
Philly.
Yeah.
And so he gets traded to the Dodgers.
For the Nationals too.
And what I remember is Frank Catalano comes up to me. He goes, "Hey, dude, I think they're trading Worth." And he goes, "I think you're going to make this team." And I'm like, "No shit." And I'm like, because I'm not playing like super great.
Yeah.
But I think they know like I could play all three outfield spots. And in my mind, I'm also thinking like
You have history.
I have a little bit of history, but also like I'm like, let's say 50% of the player I was, because I can only throw so much, and
Yeah.
it's an issue. So I'm kind of like faking my way through it in a way, in a way.
Yeah.
Uh, but like knowing that, so he was expendable because I think they thought that I was going to be maybe that fourth outfielder, maybe chilling with Reed Johnson, and spelling guys and stuff. So that happens. They trade him, but Simon Pond plays so well that he makes that
Oh,
team.
that was did he, oh,
Yeah, so
wow.
he might have even been the 25th guy, right?
Oh
But
yeah.
he
No, he was
deserved
the
it.
last guy because
Yeah,
he wasn't supposed to make the team.
yeah, it was a surprise. He's Canadian, so it was kind of a
Yeah.
big deal right at
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
time. And so I'm like, cool, so we all now go down to minor league camp. There's maybe just a couple of days left, I think.
Yeah.
So now we're pretty much on the Syracuse roster, um, and now we're going to Syracuse, and so freezing cold, right? I think there was
There was snow on the ground when we
snow when
showed
we
up.
got there, and I'm not used to that by any means.
Right.
I was like, okay, what's going on here?
What did we sign up for?
Yeah, and so kind of a little bit of a story behind all this. So um, we're on the team. Season starts. I think I hit 2 home runs in the first 2 games. Like I'm like 4 for 7 with 2 bombs.
Mm,
Um, and talking about swing changes. Okay. So the year prior to that, I'm in Vegas and I'm on like one of the hottest streaks I've ever had. And I'm like, approach wise, I'm like, I got out of my head. I'm like, dude, just see the ball, get in your stance, look fastball, hit it through the right center, right? Like every time. That's all I'm thinking.
mm.
I'm like, just
Simplify.
just simplify and trust, right? So I'm like,
Hmm.
sweet. So I'm literally hitting like 380 in 2 months in Vegas, like just
Ooh.
going off, right? But I'm doing a lot of DHing, occasional in the outfield. But I'm feeling it. Like guys are like, why are you still here? I'm like, well, I'm playing with the Dodgers. I'm like,
Yeah, no.
look at that outfield. There's no room.
Yeah.
And so I took that approach, which sometimes, when you're going well, you kind of like, and when you're not going, you get a little jumpy, like you're kind of getting out there quickly, or as we do sometimes.
Hmm.
If I remember the name, so Merv Retman, right? So he's like one of the roving big league guys with the Blue Jays, and he gets a hold of me in spring training because I took that same approach to the Blue Jays that spring, and I had some success, but also like I still struggle with breaking balls, right? I'm getting a little jumpy out there. I'll smash your fastball for the most part, but you flip something up there, I'm going to struggle with it.
Yeah.
And so I think Merv
And you
Redmond
knew
had,
that, by the way, right? You felt that as at
yeah,
that
oh, of
time. You
course, yeah, but I didn't like nobody really was like, okay, this is what you need to do to fix
didn't.
that.
You know, it's crazy you say that too. That's what I want to. That's what I want to start doing a little more too.
Yeah,
You're in AAA, man. At this point, and
with
that
big
should
league
be.
time already.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And then and we all went through stuff like that. We were like at the level with our highest level or whatever almost, and we're still trying to figure it out.
still
We
trying.
still
Yeah,
need help. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
that's why I tell the kids a lot too. I'm like, dude, there's time. That's why big leaguers need help. They need
yeah,
help.
yeah. And I
They're
think
going through it.
I want to say 24, 25 at this
Yeah.
point. So I've
Yeah. So
gone
you're
through the
still good.
Pirates organization. I've
Yeah.
already got weighed by them. I have big league time with them now with the Dodgers and the Cubs. So I played for 3 teams already in the big leagues,
Yeah.
and now I'm with the Blue Jays, my 4th team, still trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
Merv Redman gets a hold of me and he's like, hey, like I know you're kind of struggling a little bit with, and I'm paraphrasing like what the conversation might have looked like.
Right.
So I think he might have had a hand in helping Jeff Bagwell back in the day.
Okay.
So Jeff Bagwell, if you remember, had a very unique thing where when he used
Step
to
back.
the Red Sox, right? He was jumpy, would get out
Oh,
front.
yeah.
And so I think Merv Redmond said, and I don't know if it's Merv or not, but and or maybe he was just saying, hey, let's just do what Jeff Bagwell does,
All right.
but get a little bit wider. And I want you to try, instead of, because when I want you to step back to where your stride would be,
Yeah.
and then we're going to
And
rotate,
then just rotate.
just
Yeah. Yeah.
rotate.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, dude, I got to try, like you, I got to try
Yeah, for
something
sure.
new. Like, so what else can help me get, I can hit in AAA, great, but I'm not showing I can hit in the big leagues.
Right.
So what's the missing piece? So
Right.
I'm like willing to try it. So I'm stepping back, rotating. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm not going forward. Cool. So I utilize that the last week of spring training, right? And then I take that into Syracuse, and I don't know if it's just because I can hit a little bit, but I hit 2 home runs,
Yeah,
right,
right. It worked.
in the first
It
two
felt good.
games.
Yeah.
But it also was like, because you're used to taking your stride and turning. Now I'm going backwards and turning. It's different.
It's different. Oh
It's
yeah.
different,
Those
right?
timing's
Uh,
different.
so long story short, that lasted for maybe 2 weeks, like that whole approach. And afterwards, I'm like,
It
this
felt
does
terrible, right?
not feel
It
right.
felt so odd.
It's
It's because it's
been,
not natural, by the way. Just so you know,
yes, because
that's
it's,
why it's odd.
and
There's
what I
no
felt like a fastball felt okay because I'm just staying there. But when the ball started to move away from you, like a slider, I feel like you can't reach it.
yeah, you
I'm
can't.
just spinning out of it. I'm like,
Yep.
okay, so if that's all true, like, why is a big league coach telling me to do this? You know what I
Exactly.
mean? And it's
Exactly.
just very, very confusing,
It's
right?
very confusing. We've
Um,
been told many
so
of things, by the way. Like I told you about the things I've been told, and anyways, but
right.
that's same stuff. And
So
he
let
was just trying to, I think
yeah,
that you just throw something out in the wall and like,
a
hey, maybe
hundred
it sticks.
100%. And so that's why we always label the baseball as the game of adjustments, right? And so you try that thing, you try this thing. I'm going to try the Jeff Bagwell, right? One of my really close friends, like a coach made him like, I want you to hit like Tony Batista with your, I want you to be wide open, and then I want you to step in here. And if you don't do it, you're going to go down to AAA,
It's wild.
right?
It's
So big league guy
completely wrong.
telling you guys. So that's really irks me a little bit,
Me
and
too.
I get a little fired up over it too.
Me too,
But
bro.
so what I've kind of come to a conclusion with a little bit, and I don't even know if this is right, like we're all trying to figure it out, right? I don't think any coach has any will intent on making somebody worse.
Right.
It's just the coach I see something with my eyes. Okay, your body's doing this. You're not creating space, whatever it is. I think I might have the solution for you. Let's try it out, right?
Yeah.
And that's what trying out or making adjustments is. So what's been your experiences with that?
I'll tell you what, I've come a long way from what I knew even as a pro, what I knew about hitting and thought was important about hitting. As I've continued to just pile on these hours, like you're talking about all those years and at bats, oh my gosh, the hours I've been watching swings, woo, just crazy now. Like I've
Yeah,
watched so many swings. So, I've just learned what's important and what is not. What you're talking about with that style of the back step or classic like no stride. Like
yeah,
I've no strided before, and I actually had success as well. I actually finished one of my seasons, my second to last season, I think, playing. Yeah, I was with the independent leagues, and anyways, I started doing it the last month or 2 months, and man, I roped. I was just going great because I don't know, it worked out. But what happened is, I know that that's not an ideal way to probably hit because of the lack of energy, and like
yeah,
you were saying about your back step, and then you were spinning, and this is the problem. As soon as
right,
you spin, that shoulder goes, and everything, and that ball's away, and you're not in position anymore. You're done. So I've really learned. Stuff like that. I prefer a bit of a stride. You don't have to do it. Like we just said, you hit home runs without stride, and so have I. So, and I
yeah,
know we can do it, but I think it's more natural to take a bit of a step, not huge or nothing. And everybody's a little different with that. So you can do what you want, but I like the energy moving better. And then so my big thing, my most important things now that I've realized that I talk about from a hitting standpoint are it's timing. Timing's got to be number one, right? Positioning, all right, and the way you go and the direction you move right at the
Mhm.
beginning, basically, and then your ability to actually get to and then through the ball.
Yeah.
A form of staying down. I always like to say, stay on time, stay aggressive, stay down. That stay down part is adding the length and stretch through the swing or whatever, through the ball. Um, a lot of other stuff, most other stuff doesn't matter.
Mm. Mhm.
If you want to
Like, we
simplify it, nothing
overthink
else,
that.
not, yeah, a situation. We can, there's situational hitting now. I'm not saying, hey, runners on second, you want to move them over. Okay, there's certain things you do need to do to hit it the right side or lefty
Yeah.
pull it or something if you want to do that. Or infield's back, you're just going to take this ribby and take this ground ball that's short and second, do it. But in a general sense, um, it's just a routine that we can continue to do. And then we don't also the mental side of it. We don't overthink the this is totally different from what I used to do. But don't overthink the balls and strikes. You don't overthink. Is this a strike? Is this a ball? Oh my gosh, it's not important. Come from me. Trust me, please. It's
Yeah.
not that important, actually. It turns
Yeah.
out, if it was, again, I would have been a Hall of Famer and whatever. It's not that important. It's actually way, way, way more important to just be on time for the pitch. Okay, the pitch has got to be thrown through this amount of space, basically, technically,
Yeah.
the over the plate. And if we set ourselves up in position and we're on time, we have a chance to rip, and then the mentality just has to be, I'm ready to go from the first pitch on. I'm not going to let this ball get too deep. You'd say, I don't like to even. I don't talk about that stuff. Like let
Yeah.
the ball travel, let the ball get deep. I don't use those words, not unless I'm slightly mocking it now because it's very confusing. I know you were told that, and we've all said it before too. I used to say it as a younger coach, and I just stopped because I'm like, kids, hitters, period, don't know how far you mean. It could mean,
Yeah.
are you talking about over the plate? Are you talking about behind the plate? Are you talking about front? Is this deep? Is this deep? And so I stopped saying that. And it's a very confusing thing. So instead, I say, let's get our hands out in front. Let's get our hands out on time.
Okay.
Let's do that and see what comes out of it. And a lot of times I've learned that, man, when we start getting that started, our instincts are what really get us to the ball anyway. So we don't have to
Right.
think about that, which is awesome. So we just need to get started, and then our instincts are instantly enhanced, and they get us to the ball the best they can. They will always do that. They will always do it the best they can. If we don't get started, that's why those swings that I'll just back up. Like the ball's on us and we're doing this. We're like, oh, and it's
Mm.
like, well, your instincts were trying to get to it, but you never got there. So
Right.
that was it. It's basically from here to here. If you only get halfway and start trying to get your barrel there, you're going to jam yourself. It ain't gonna work out. So your ultimate goal is really to get started, get your hands out, and then let's roll. And then of course you might miss that ball, so you have to deal with that and just kind of move on. You can't even let it affect you. No swings and misses matter until two strikes. In my opinion, we don't get any
Yeah.
points for swinging and hitting the ball one time. What I mean? We get points for hitting it hard somewhere, and it goes where it goes. So I don't of course the youth have issues with the swings and misses and like, oh, I messed up or they got me. Or you take a pitch and you're like, oh, he threw one by me. And they're like, well, dude, get used to it,
Then
man.
they're done, right? Then
Yeah,
they
yeah.
lost
It's
to get
just part,
back.
it's part of the deal. So, anyways, I
Yeah.
just really am focused on what's important now. And I tell the people all the time, I just whenever they're coming and there's something mechanical going on, sometimes it's just a natural thing they do. And sometimes they were told to do that. And then I have to be clear and like, hey, I'm sorry, but they were trying to help, but they just told you the wrong thing, and I'm just
What's the biggest maybe correction you find with when kids come in to see you? You're like, oh wow, like I'm seeing this more and more.
well, from a first part timing, again, that nobody it's hard to explain timing and how to get that going. So that's one of them. But definitely from a mechanical standpoint, just the over rotation of the backside, just over rotating, just everything kind of, knee wise, leading, turning to spinning early, and then it disconnects this typically, and then you're done. You haven't, and my big thing is just trying to keep it all tight, keep it all tight early. I'm real big on not overusing your legs, when you swing, just because you need to use your legs to get in position to hit, but you don't need to overuse your legs to swing. And that's what I was saying about in high school when I used to overuse my legs first year, second year, second year, and I was really taking myself out of position. So now I actually teach you to underuse your legs in a way to keep yourself in position, and then let your core, and your big, strong upper body
Mhm.
and strong hands do the rest of the work, which is plenty. We don't. I
Right.
just learned it turns out you don't need to use your legs a ton in the swing.
So
That's
it's
that.
just kind of it's a step rotation. You're kind of like we talk about
Yeah.
like the front heel drops, right? The front heel drops, then the backside follows through. It's like boom. It's kind of like
Yep.
together.
Yeah, and then and I also like just using the word sinking. I like to say we're trying to sink in towards the plate. Because
Yeah.
there in reality, the guy's got to throw it over the plate. If he doesn't,
Mhm.
he's got somebody else has got to come in to do it. So he's got to throw over that plate. So my big thing again is sinking the right direction, so we get ourselves in position, and then from there we can turn on the jets and let it rip. One of
Yeah.
my tricks is just keeping that chin down towards the end. What I mean? That's my form of keeping your head down, but it
Yeah.
works for me.
Perfect.
And then you pretty much just stay there a little longer than you think, and it's over. I mean, but by the time you've gotten through the swing, I'm also really big, and this throws people off all the time, especially when I like post about it. But like, I'm okay if they lose some balance towards the end. You're gonna lose balance, bro. Go
Mhm.
watch any major league hitter that can hit with anything through this. Not everybody. Giancarlo Stanton, he doesn't lose balance, but he has a rotational swing. It's different, and he's huge, and it's different. But
Yeah.
the classic guys, even just a classic Mike Trout, any guy that's hitting through and staying down, they're going to lose your balance towards the end. You got to go to first base anyway. So it's not a big deal as a righty.
Yeah.
And then as a lefty, you just got to stay through, and if you do it properly, you're going to lose a little balance. You're going to get pulled down. That's why sometimes you'll see kids like go down to the ground or go down to a knee, or you've seen like classic Adrian Beltre when he used to hit, and he'd hit
Yeah.
those bombs and he'd be ripping and then going down to his knee. That's just your physics pulling him down, and he's letting it take him. And then he's knowing that you can just rip from there, so it's not a big deal, and we're good. So it's a matter.
Yeah.
I just don't play that. Take your swing and be balanced and pose anymore. Like I used to say that when I used to coach up in Syracuse, and I was wrong. If I can tell all those kids now, I'm
It's
like,
just
hey,
it's
my bad.
overrated. It's just a little overrated to
It's
hold that
it's it's
balance.
it's completely wrong at the very end of the swing. At the very very end of the swing, in my opinion, it's not necessary. Yeah. There should be a little bit of pull down, and if there's not, then that means your energy pulled up at the wrong time, even a
Mm.
little bit. And not saying you can't rip a ball again,
Yeah.
Giancarlo Stanton, but he's super jacked and it's different. But yes, if you pull your energy up and you end up finishing, take your swing and everything's just standing here at the end, something went wrong, because physics don't do that. When you stay down and through and extend with your arms and you keep your lean, I don't know anybody that can keep their balance through that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's kind of the deal. And
Like
so
you
I'm
just
just like,
well, you just said something like with kids, I think keeping your lean, like
yeah,
so that little tilt, like
yeah, tilt,
over
yeah,
kind of over the plate a little
yep,
bit, as opposed to cutting across and
totally,
almost finish. If I'm a right-handed hitter, then my
yeah,
right shoulder is like above,
yeah, like
right?
replacing the shoulder with the shoulder or something.
Yeah,
Not like
it's
it's
like
not like a
real
pitch.
rotational instead
Yeah,
of
yeah,
kind of the angle, right?
yeah. And I
What's
just
your thoughts on because you do some stuff online and you put some good content out there. There's
thanks.
obviously a lot of hitting guys out there. It seems to me like not you, but a lot of these new wave hitting guys, if you will, it's all about getting behind, starting your swing behind you, right? The plane behind you, like to get it deep back here, because
Hmm.
they want that path to come behind you and all the way through. Do you believe in that? Or are you kind of like just like the bat pass more like this way, kind of middle of the body out front, and that's the bat path? Or do you think it starts way back here?
Right. Is it okay if I grab my bat?
Grab it, man. Let's go.
Use my Mookie Betts signed bat real quick.
Perfect.
No, Mookie was cool. Mookie was my first guy to make it to the big league. Not my first guy. He was gonna make it without me. Okay, but he's pretty great. Yeah. So that whole thing. Let me back up just a tad
Yeah.
here. The whole thing here, on the backside, I'm pretty good with the everything kind of working in here tight, similar to what you're saying.
Yep.
Like the move you made, I'm like, yeah, that looks right. The barrel's gotta stay up a little bit. If it drops too much, like say this, that's not gonna kill you. This might, you never know, and then this might not be so good, as it drops
Right.
early. And look,
Right.
it depends a bit on the pitch, where the location and all that. Your timing, no doubt, it's got to be number one. But the first move of every swing, that's always my big thing. It's like the hitter slot or whatever they call it there, but that's my big thing
Kind
too.
of
So
coming
I'm
off your
okay.
back shoulder
Yeah,
there.
yeah, and it's
Right.
just pretty much coming off, and everything moving initially. The elbow is going to be the most dramatic thing from starting up, to coming in and keeping it tight. And then the next main thing are continuing the hands out. That's my big thing, is getting these things out on time, because
Hmm.
everything else, I don't have the room in here, but everything else, now the barrel can just do its thing and release. And then as
Yeah.
long as you can release and extend, we got it.
So on your when we're showing your elbows, like I call it the box, right? Like that kind of
Right.
box here. Are you at all thinking get my elbow up to get my backside down? Or are
Oh,
you just thinking
I'm
hand
not thinking
just
that. I'm not thinking it.
yeah,
It may happen now, okay, but just naturally. But of course, if it starts going too far, it gets a bit
yeah.
ridiculous,
But
But yes,
you're kind of just slotting it. Like it's
yeah,
just
yeah. I'm just trying to get into a slot, and I think
yeah,
everybody's got a little. We're all different bodies, so there's a little
yeah.
different, like similar moves, but just maybe the little different angle. Again, this compared to this. Oh my gosh, is there a big difference? No, not really. And
Mhm.
it's a matter of just getting that process started and finding your way to get to the ball too
Yeah.
after that. So as long
Yeah.
as there's a relatively consistent progression to the zone, and then eventually, again, your hand-eye coordination and your instincts take you to the ball the best they can. So we don't
Yeah.
even control that, like our conscious part of our mind. So it's pretty cool. But if we get started though the right way, again, now we have a chance. Especially if it
Mhm.
was a high ball, it could easily just stay on plane and get to the high ball. Or if it's low, it's a lot easier from there to go down as you start progressing. But again, your instincts do that anyway, so you don't even really have to think about it too
Yeah.
much.
Do you
Yeah.
have kids that you have a kid that it might be he's been told to swing down and it's too choppy, right? Kind of down and just stays
Yeah.
down through it.
I don't see a lot of that, to be honest. It's usually
Yeah.
the other way around. It's usually the barrel
Up.
dumping,
Yeah.
just everything drops early and then you're just kind of done. And
Yeah.
so
Well,
and look, I know I've seen that, that video or that saying with Josh Johnson, he said is, your coaches tell you to get on top of the ball, tell them no or whatever. And I'm cool with that. I get what he was saying about that. But I actually do tell them to try to get on top. It's a
but you're
trick though.
still
I
on
don't
top of the ball.
still want to get on
You're
top of the ball,
you're
bro.
still
Like,
whether you say like because even in that video, the positioning he's doing, his hands are still above the ball.
I know, dude.
The
I
barrel's
know.
still
I
there,
know.
right?
And it's more about the result. Like, don't be afraid if the ball goes in the air. Yeah, but don't. This is what I would say. Do not try to lift it up there, though. You don't.
Right.
You do not need to do that. You need to get to it. You need to touch that ball. Typically, you need to get
Yeah.
to that thing, and then let the natural progression of that path just take over. And
Mhm.
everybody's got a little bit like you. I remember when you were talking about, and this is one of our conversations. I remember literally in the cages as we're hurt and not playing or something's
Yeah.
happening. You were talking about how we were just working backspin. Remember, I don't know if you
Yep.
remember this, man. I swear I remember this exact moment, but we were just like, let's just try to get some backspin today. We're just talking, we're just sinking, and sure enough, we were working down, boom, and that ball was going boom, and it's just taking off, lining and then being driven as well. And like, dude, that's the way I know how to hit a ball. I mean,
Right.
if you get too much angle, that thing, it's hard not to top spin. That's all. And you hit it
Yeah.
up and it goes down. So it's like a curveball you hit
Yeah.
down to the
And really, like it's just trying to get through it,
through
right?
it. Just
Just
do it
kind
and
of get
through it.
through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Initial move though. I think the initial, and I think it's healthy to think initially down in your mind. And what it can't go wrong too bad because it will flatten out. Just about everybody's swing, I'd say it starts to flatten out or even gets a little uphill, and that's cool.
Yeah.
But we need to start it. We need to try to
Yeah.
keep this tight and have the composure at the beginning.
Yeah.
That's all.
When your
Lose
hands
it,
up
you might
here,
miss it bad.
your hands are already above the ball,
You're
right?
right, right.
So
Oh
if
yeah,
I just went straight to it, like my hands are going to go down because
yeah.
my back's
Yep.
coming down. So
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
I think it's just how you interpret it, right? And
Yeah. Well,
your
hey, that
kids.
being said, too, I also don't, and I do this even on a tee. I'll kind of get my way up here,
Mhm.
but then when I see myself in a game, I'm just down. I'm down. I'm actually right here, and this
Yeah.
is a healthy spot. I don't need to. If I needed to level and just keep on playing, I could handle most pitches up and
Right.
then anything down from there. But a lot of it doesn't need to be like. And I used to think that I need to get my hands up to get above this ball, and it's actually nah, it didn't
Yeah.
matter.
Because you're still above it there
Get
too.
started and
Yeah.
just keep my plane. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's it. No, it's fascinating. It's fun to talk about, and it's fun,
yeah,
like you said, you're working with kids. And I'm going to finish my story real quick.
yeah.
Because as I was talking about the whole Jeff Bagwell stepping back, and I was definitely using more of the bigger muscles. And I
Yeah.
started to notice my back was starting to like, man, I'm really feeling this in my back, my low
Oh
back.
yeah.
Kind of, so maybe I'm torquing more and I don't know what. Um, but we're in the like a week into the season, I get called up to the Blue Jays, right? Simon Pond comes down from AAA. So I don't
Oh
he might have maybe had 2 or 3 at bats. So didn't even really play.
yeah.
So I whatever that roster move was. So now I go up. Now
I do remember that.
my mindset, which is I guess a good mindset, but also was kind of crazy. Like the couple times I got called up from AAA to the big leagues, I'm thinking, oh, this is it. Like I'm going up there to stay. Like
Yeah, right.
I have no idea. Like they're thinking, oh, we're gonna bring Chad up and he'll be here for 2 weeks while that guy's hurt, and then we're
Yeah.
gonna just bring him down. So what do we do? My wife, my wife and kids, they're gonna be in Syracuse with me. So we're moving to Toronto. We're going north, right?
Yeah, we're going
So
north.
we go stay in the Sky Dome for a couple days. Um,
That's pretty cool,
we
huh?
go get a place to stay, and like, hey, we're gonna be in Toronto, the rest of the year. So you kind of have that mindset, which is good, right? But then you're like, oh, you kind of get into what's happening, what's going on. Um, it's like, oh, I'm an extra guy. Like I'm the fourth, fifth outfielder. So you kind of, unless they specifically tell you that role, which they don't, at least in this case.
Yeah.
So you're just there, you're doing your thing, but you're in the big leagues, right? So you wear whatever, even if you're not playing.
Yeah.
So my back is kind of hurting, and I'm going from Syracuse to Toronto, so it's still cold, right? And so I'm like, man, I'm trying to do my best to stay out of the treatment room because I've just lived in there for my
We don't want
whole
to be known for being in there all the time. You know the
shoulder
deal.
issues,
Yeah.
right? And I had a foot
Yeah.
issue. I actually that winter I had a screw and a pin put into my big toe
Oh, wow.
because rotating a billion times on my back foot, right?
Oh,
So my,
wow.
my my big toe is worn out. It's done. So surgery on that. So now I'm dealing with shoulder and foot, right? Except like my whole right side is jacked. But it's my left side of my back that's really bothering me. So I'm
Oh
like, all
my
right,
gosh.
I need to go get treatment on it, I need to get it warmed up. The team chiropractor, team doctor comes in and he kind of works with Carlos Delgado and different guys and kind of like a personal guy. And the trainer's like, hey, you need to get with him. He can work on your back a little bit, get you lined up. So he gets on the table. I'm lying on my back, so he's on top of me, puts my leg over, right? He's just gonna crack my back, just get me loosened up. And he's like, hey, breathe. And like, so my shoulder's here.
Yeah, I know that
And
one.
all of a sudden we hear and wasn't like immediate pain or anything, but we looked at each other and I'm like, and he goes, did you hear that? He goes, yeah. He's like, you okay? I'm like, yeah, I think so. So I don't really think anything of it. I get up off the table and then I just kind of walking around. This is before BP.
Mm.
And I'm like, man, my side's really kind of bugging me. Right. And I'm like, so I just go out, take BP, doing my thing. And I'm like, this is hurting to swing. Long story short, cracked my rib.
Oh my god.
So
Oh my gosh.
I have a
Woo!
broken rib,
What the heck, dude?
and I'm trying to like, and I'm just
Whoa.
thinking like, well, my back is still like sore. Now my
Oh,
side's sore,
oh my
and it
gosh.
hurts to swing, right?
Yeah.
And so I can't remember the exact days. I was only in Toronto for like 10 days. In like day 4 or 5 or something. And so I'm going to treatment over the next few days, not knowing my rib is cracked. I'm like, my back is it's not getting better, right?
Oh my gosh.
And so then I get sent down. They're like, hey, we're gonna send you down. I think I got 2 or 3 at bats too. I didn't really play. But I'm also in pain and hurting and
Yeah.
I tell the trainer, I like, hey, I go, something's wrong. Like I don't know what it is, but like ever since the chiropractor popped my back, and he's like, well, he's like, I wonder if you have a cracked rib.
Oh, he
And
said
he's
that?
like, well, the story is in my mind a little bit. I can't remember the exact
Yeah.
words, but he's like, when you get back to Syracuse, contact Woody, and he'll set you up. You go get an MRI, in Syracuse. I'm like, okay, cool. So Woody gets that all set up, and sure enough, I have a cracked rib. And I'm like, okay, well, like cracked ribs, like you can't. There's nothing you can do about that. You have to just let it heal, right? He's like, yeah, man, it's going to be like 30 to 45 days before you can,
Oh man.
because it has to that whole process. I'm like, okay. So I think Bracken's pregnant with I think our third child,
Mm.
and I'm like, well, I don't want to sit here in this freezing cold place.
Don't blame you.
So I went home. I went
Yeah.
home to Vegas and to be with Bracken because she's pregnant. I'm like, well, I'm hurt. So that was kind of like a part of that whole 2004 experience where I'm like, man, this is going to be an interesting year, full of
Crazy.
some adversity.
That
Uh,
was at the beginning then, right?
that was way at the beginning. Yeah.
Oh
So I
man.
I was so Syracuse was like, I don't know, 10 days too. Then I get called up, 10 days at Toronto, and then I come right back down. Um, Gone for a month, and I come back, and so now I'm trying to like just restart everything again. And that's kind of when we started hanging out the most, I think. And it
Yeah.
kind
Because I
of
was hurt. Because when you came
yeah.
back, I
So
eventually got hurt.
we were kind of dwelling in our misery together, I think. Which is fine, but it taught me some things too, like
Yeah, me too.
how to work through some stuff. And
Yeah. It
you know
taught, well, I think I told you it taught me that, there's a little better ways to handle stuff too,
mhm,
and I don't think I handled it exactly as a professional. I was just so frustrated and I didn't know what to do with my time instead
mhm,
of going out and supporting the guys. And I also got a little bit of that feeling too when we were in AAA that we all know we're one step away, and so
mhm.
everybody's a bit focused on that, on themselves and shit, and so
Sure.
it's hard to, you don't feel like a team as much, or at least I didn't as much. But again, I was hurt. I didn't play good at the beginning, and then I was hurt, and I was new to the organization for that matter, and it was just hard. It was just hard. So
Yeah.
again, like I told you, I would, games going on, I'd go out there at the beginning, then I'd come in, go into the clubhouse, or go hit on my own, and or go, do something, go hang out with you. And
Yeah.
I remember one time we went to the cages during the game, but that's just because we need to get something going. We need
Yeah.
to feel like you're doing something. And I just kind of
Yeah.
want to get, anyways. And I just
Well,
kind of wish I
and that
would
was
have.
the hard part, right, too, like, going to the AL side of things, like, there's no pinch hitting, like, the
Yeah,
DH
yeah,
is
right.
there, so, like, when
Yeah,
you're not playing, unless somebody gets
yeah. You're
hurt,
not probably playing
you're
that
not
day.
playing. So
Yeah,
it's really difficult to stay in it, and you're like, "Well, how am I gonna get to the big leagues if I'm on the bench?"
yeah,
And so your
yeah,
mind is just kinda all over the place,
yeah. I
and
just
that
wish I
gets
would
tough.
have hung around the guy, like just hung out in the dugout and just watch the game, maybe talk to some of the older guys and veterans, and just learn more and stuff instead of wallowing in my own issues.
Yeah,
And that was
yeah,
hard though. I couldn't separate that at that time.
yeah,
Nowadays, I would easy peasy know what to do, but back
yeah,
then it
well
was hard.
and now that I've gone through like this life coach school process and I've kind of learned a term, and I think what we were both probably going through and it kind of hurts to say it, but it's like we were an emotional childhood, right? We were trying to deal with our emotions of our circumstances. We had all these different thoughts about it going on and created these, anger, bitterness, shame, blame, all this stuff. And like when you're in that energy of just showing up to oh, I'm not playing again today. Am I going to work on anything?
Yeah.
I'm not really feeling it. I'm just going to, you know,
Mhm.
kind of wallow in my pity a little bit,
Yeah.
and just brings off bad vibes, and bad energy.
Instead
Uh,
of working through it, instead of going, like, I think of it now, I'm like, shit, I wish I would have just gone to the gym, every day and just kept working out until I was ready to play.
yeah,
And then that would have
yeah,
shown them something, I don't think they would have. And how I told you how our manager that year, accused me of sitting on my injury, and I was not sitting on my injury. I was so hurt.
yeah. That's
Could
interesting.
not do it. I'd
Yeah,
never do that. I would never ever do that. And so it was definitely a slap in the face. But then I look back though how I was kind of acting. I can see how he could maybe guess that because I was just kind of like, I'm not doing anything. So but if I had been working out, training, and they saw me speed work, all the stuff that I could
mhm,
do, they probably would have thought differently. And that's
right.
just one moment. It was rarely actually I ever was like that. It was just that was my bad year too.
Yeah,
It was my bad time.
yeah.
I had to
No,
learn.
it's
I had to
but
learn
yeah,
from
like you said, you learn from it. Now you get to choose and utilize those experiences with all these kids that you're coaching, right? And
Yep.
uh, when they come to you, and some of these kids, like the kids I hit, some are really young, and they're just way learning the basics, and that's stuff you might share with high school or college kids, right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
share those stories or experiences with them, and the young kids could give a crap.
They don't care.
They're not even close to
They
that
just want to swing the
experience.
bat. They just
Just
want to swing the bat.
just show me how
They
to
don't want
hit.
you talking. They want to swing.
Yeah, yeah. So let's go back to the hitting portion of it. Are there any more things that you kind of mentioned? Man, there's some things that I felt that I was just taught wrong. Like I don't think these are the right ways to go about it.
Yeah. I wish. Okay, and I didn't make an actual list. I can just go off the top of my head though with a lot of it.
Yeah.
One of them was when they used to say, "Noah, you gotta get your barrel out." you gotta get your barrel out. And I'm like, okay, I'll get my barrel out, and I just rope it foul, just like, oh, there's my barrel, instead of them
So
telling
you
me.
would get around.
Well, just in my mind, I wasn't
Yeah.
getting it. Like it wasn't
Okay.
either. I was a slow learner or something, but and then I didn't get what they were saying about just get the barrel. And what it was, and the way I say it now is get your hands out. Get your hands out. Get your hands out. That barrel comes right behind it. The barrel
It'll
is easy.
follow.
I can just
Okay.
rotate the barrel right here. Boom, it's gone. It's out. But the
Okay.
hands getting out on time, ooh, that's the kicker. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I wish somebody had told me sooner, like, hey, Noah, start getting your hands out and get that as your anticipation. Get the hands out there because the barrel, that part is super, super basic and easy and quick and so quick.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be in a hurry there. But so that's one thing. Yeah, the whole balls and strikes thing, really trying to get one. If anybody told me that one time there, I definitely took it to heart, because I that was one thing I wish somebody said, hey, no, just open up the zone, it's okay. It's okay not to, it's okay to swing at a ball once in a while, and especially when it's over the plate. Like, and that's my big thing now. And I'm trying to make this a thing. And well, with all my hitters, it's a thing, but in general, from a hitting standpoint, but I want to try to expand the zone up and down over the plate,
Okay.
especially down the middle, but up and down. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's a ball. It's a ball up here, but can you get to this ball? Yes, you can.
Yeah.
It's a ball, but you
I
can
like
get to
some
this.
of them high fastballs, right?
What's the difference? Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. That's what I mean. Think of all the home runs you hit, man. All the balls you hit hard, even that weren't strike. They probably wouldn't have been strikes. Might have been a lot. Okay, just by the fact the low one,
Yeah.
not a lot in and out of the zone because those are harder to get your barrel to sweet. Like but up and down, it turns out. And I'm like I love the low ball anyway, but you can't throw one too low. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
but if it's down the middle, especially, I can go down and get that, and so can everybody else that buys into it ultimately. So
Sure.
I wish I would have bought into that sooner. And somebody said, hey, no, just let's be aggressive. You got such a good eye. Let's just see if we can open it up and see what you can do with some of these other pitches. I had one time, and I'm not gonna give his name because that's not nice, but like he was a professional hitting coach in single A at one time, and he told me to step towards the pitch. So like basically, if it's away, you step away. It's inside, it's inside. Oh my gosh, what? And wouldn't you know, I had a tough year that year. But anyways, I'm not blaming him. I just didn't get any help that year. All right. And it's crazy. I tell people that story. I'm like, this is a professional hitting coach. This guy was getting paid. And I like it. He's actually a really nice guy. So that's why I don't want to say his name. But I had a tough time, and I wish he would have just been more clear. I wish the other coordinators, they were having trouble at the time against the Expos. They were having trouble at the time, and they weren't doing a great job. But
I'm sure Vladimir Guerrero did that, right?
Oh my gosh, that guy. Oh, that's another one. Yeah, so that was a good example. Why? When I first show up to spring training, I'm like looking at Vladdy. Of course, I'm like, this guy, and everybody's like, this guy's the man. He just kind of got into the big leagues, and we're looking at him like, wow. And sure enough, I see him hitting the cage. He's swinging as hard as I've ever seen anybody swing at balls. And I'm like, why does he get to swing hard? Everybody else got to be nice and controlled, and so why does he do that? And then he's ripping pitches that are hitting the ground and over his head and in the other box,
swinging
out of the park. And I'm like, why is he able to do that? Is he just special? He's just a special guy, and I can't do that because I'm just not that special. And like, dude, it wasn't that. He just bought it. I'm sure nobody told him about balls and strikes because he just ripped.
You just say, bro, just do it.
So that's my big thing too. I'm just like, I don't want people waiting around forever. Yeah, you could be right. Yeah, you take the pitch, it's a ball. You need 4, bro. You need 4 of those just to get 1 base, and that's it. And if you got to second base on that, hey, it's maybe another story. So for me as a hitter, that was my excuse. Oh, well, I get to first, but then I can still second. So then I was in scoring position. So in theory, it wasn't the worst strategy ever for a guy that could run and get to second. Like the year in AA, I was played against Euclid. And that year that they came out with Moneyball. And I remember reading the book and then the movie and all that. And I was like, they could have used me for that, but they used Euclid. He was a bigger name and all that. Yeah. And he made it and all that stuff too. But that same year we played against each other. He had like a .20 on base percentage higher than I did or something like that year. But I scored like 20 more runs. So that was
stuck on that.
That. Just getting on base isn't the first only thing. Get it to second base or get to third and score. So, anyways, that was kind of my big thing.
Yeah.
Other stuff would be, I don't know, just for the most part. I'm not blaming a lot of coaches. It's just they're all trying. Like that's what I've realized too.
For sure.
Around here, when I work with kids and their coaches are telling them stuff, I'm like, hey, this is actually what I've learned. And this is the way I would always go, but this is why. and your coaches are always trying to help. So there's no offense. I always say that because I don't want to. It's not about that. I've said wrong things plenty of times. I
Sure.
also have changed the way I talk, so I have to do that. But I don't know. I guess that those couple things are a couple of the main ones, that came up, but especially the aggressiveness thing. I wish I would have just been more aggressive, and somebody had told me that and been like, yeah, this is going to help you make it,
Yeah.
and
What's an aggressive game, right? It's if,
yeah,
if you're
yeah.
if you're passive and at least in my thoughts, so if you're passive in any parts of the game, that was something that Trent Jewett, my manager in AAA, would always be like, as long as you're aggressive, you're fine. Right.
Yeah.
If you're passive at all, like it's gonna show. And as a hitter, like you said, you can't let up. Like
Yeah.
if you're thinking fastball every time, like you have to be ready every pitch.
You do. You
Why
do.
not make it the first? I was always a little uncomfortable swinging at the very first pitch of my first at bat, but after
Oh yeah.
that,
Because you didn't have a timing really yet,
yeah,
right?
I was like, I just want to see him. Like
Just
on
want to
the
see one, yeah. And
nerves
that's
are
why
nerves are
no,
kind of in there a little
no,
bit.
I know, I know,
Like,
I
all
know,
right,
and that's
here
why I
we
tell
go.
the kids too. I'm like, hey, this is. I have to be real about this. I'm okay with that occasion. So the other thing is, I still play now, and I'm like one of the only
Yeah,
guys
let's
still
talk
playing.
about.
I don't
You're
know what
still
my problem
grinding
is.
it,
Okay,
dude.
yeah, I just have fun. It's fun. It's fun to play. There's all guys. There's a couple other pros out there, but it's mostly some college guys and guys that never played or played high school, and it's cool. We just have a good time, but I like to stay current out there too. So that's kind of part of the deal. But I've had to do this recently myself, where I was like, I'm just gonna go up and take a pitch because I've been so aggressive that now my coordination is off a little, my hand eye and I don't practice enough, so that's the other thing. I'm
Sure.
doing lessons, but I'm
You're
actually not
showing go,
physically
right?
practicing. So then I tell them, I'm like, hey, I'm struggling probably because of my practice, because I'm working out, I feel good. I'm right there mentally. I'm not like, oh, I can't
Yeah.
hit. Never again will I ever feel like that. But the actual technique of getting to the ball. So, anyways, I took a pitch, I felt good. I was like, "Ooh, I saw that good, and I know how it goes." And then it should give you a little confidence, like, "All right, now we're ready. Now we're ready to go." But then from that point on, unless coach gives it to you, don't take it. Not on purpose. Not on purpose.
Yeah.
And just
Yeah.
really feast on pitches out over the plate. Again, up, down, over the plate. There's a lot of mistakes out there. If they're pitching you tough, you better hang with them and get figure out what you can handle, and get to it. But yeah, that's definitely
Yeah.
part of it too.
I love it, man. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Well, man, like I said, I look back at your career, 16 years, right, of just grind city, right? Just getting after it, doing your thing, doing everything you can to get to to accomplish that last end goal, right, of trying to get to the big leagues. And you put everything you had into it. I know that, right? It does take when you go from like AAA or AA, and then you start going into the independent side of things, right? There's kind of that mindset shift of like, okay, I still believe I can do this. There's still like that little window. You believe the window's still there because I can still hit, I can still
Yeah.
play.
Yeah.
If just one guy sees me do it in the independent
Yeah.
league,
One.
then I can get back to an
That's
organization
exactly it.
and climb this whole other mountain again.
Get it again.
So guys that do that, I did it 1 year. I'm like, because you're just
Where
like
did you
most
go?
guys. Where Sioux Falls,
Oh yeah.
South Dakota.
Yeah, that was my first independent league when I was with St. Paul. Sioux
Yeah,
Falls was part of that league. It
yeah.
was like the Northern League or something like that then, or something. Or
Oh, was it the American Association when I was?
okay, they changed it after I
Yeah.
was there. Yeah.
But it's you're just you want to make sure can I really not do this anymore, right? And then
Right.
like you said, sometimes you might have a few more years in there, but then you're like, well, now I got a family to take care of, right? And that was kind of it for me. Like after that year, played really well, got back to the Marlins, played pretty decent, but still not feeling physically great.
Right.
Now I have no place to go to. I was like, well, I guess I'll do that. And I actually went to the Angels, right? And then still hurt, essentially.
Poor guy, man.
But it's like I was like, man, like you're trying to catch a break. Like maybe this will get figured out. But yeah, you start getting over 30, right? And that window really starts closing.
Yeah, you got to do something special, and it's
Yeah,
hard. And that's
because
what I was saying about. Well, just not to cut you off there, but just
yeah.
I I was definitely a late. I was a late. I got it together late, and it was
Mhm.
just different. I wish I had obviously within the first 2 years kind of figured it out, but it didn't work that way. So that's part of what made me a grinder is that I just had to keep trying things and just try to prove that I was legit enough to make it. And I could have, that I could have been in the big leagues. Okay, I could
Yeah,
have played in the big leagues. There's plenty of
yeah,
guys that made it there that we're all good, better than, and there's guys that are way better than us, of course, too. But the point is, could have been there, but and I
Yeah.
played with all the guys. Um, but it was a matter of timing. My timing was always jacked up, and it's just what it is. So I accept that. And I
Mhm.
also accept that I was inconsistent. So I got to do that. And so that's part of my real goal now when I work with kids. And then eventually, as I start working with pros more too, is just to get them straight quickly,
Yeah.
to give them just at least a good, setup to just go with and go out on the field. Like I tell the kids I work with now, I'm like, this is for you to work with. This is for you to take on the road with you. I mean, this
Yeah.
all this information. Go take it on the road. Go take it to practice. Go take it to the game. Go just dream about it. Think about it. Just get in tuned as a hitter. And then just ball player. And of course, it's more just ball playing than hitting. But the main thing is we talk about is hitting here. And it's just the mindset and trying to get into it. And then I really enjoy that part though. What I do now is just helping kids and seeing the smile on their face when they get it,
Yeah.
and I'm telling you, bro, it's happening really quickly. That's what's
Yeah.
so fun for me. And then and I love like what you're doing, the mental side of things. That's so fun for me because of course we've been through it. We didn't have to
Yeah.
go to school. We went through the school of life. I mean, I went through all that. And I've learned
Yeah.
these ways. There's other ways too if you study some and know there's different techniques and stuff to deal with people. But I really enjoy that part.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
Absolutely.
had to learn, had to learn.
Yeah, for sure. So where you do some, like I said, you do some great content online. Where could people find you if they want to start looking at your hitting videos and all that?
Yeah, so well technically I have Noah Hall baseball. If you look up Noah Hall baseball and softball, you'll find it. Like noahhallbaseball.com is my email or my website.
Okay.
I have I'm on Instagram and Facebook and all that, Noah Hall baseball. And then I have a YouTube channel too that I've almost finished I'm trying to get like 5 videos together and then I'm gonna put it in there. So anyways, but
Okay.
it's Noah Hall baseball and softball on YouTube, and I'm going to start ramping that up a little bit more too because of I have realized I understand the short content and stuff, but I'm more of a long content guy. I like to
Yeah.
give really good information that actually changes lives and changes things forever, hopefully for these people I work with and help. But short content's cool to just stay active, and you know the deal. I
Yeah.
mean, we're getting
Absolutely.
older here, and I mean, a lot of the hitting people they're out there are a bit younger too, and they're just so got good energy. Not always saying the right stuff, in my opinion, but it's okay. They're trying, and I
Right.
respect them for that, and the hustle that they're putting into it. But it is hustle. My focus is on my clients and the people I work with. I will post things, and I know you got to stay active to keep growing on there. But I'm doing my best, and I'm only doing it myself too, so I don't have a team or nothing like
Yeah.
that. And I do all the editing and all the stuff. I actually enjoy
It
that.
takes
It's
a
kind of
lot of
fun.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. It takes a lot of time, but it's fun too. Like I like to kind of sync up music. I have a lot of my videos have music. Some of them don't, but like I kind of I really enjoy music, so I play music when I have the guys hit or guys and girls hit. And so, anyways, I do have a lot of videos out there, but some of it's just general. A lot of it, actually, what I've been doing lately is just trying to get some of my players seen, and
Yeah.
just get them out there in the world. And like, there's this one guy, I'll just bring it up now because he's great and he needs to be, or everybody needs to know about this guy. But this guy's name's Caleb Gant. He goes to high school here
Mhm.
in Porter Ridge. I saw him right before the season started. He had gotten injured last year, ran into his other outfielder, and they hit each other, and he had to have surgery and stuff. So he missed going to camps, and he missed kind of getting on the showcase stuff. And anyways, when I saw him for the first time, he was topping out like 86, 87, hitting wise, exit velo. And then but he looked so good. He's strong. And I was like, okay, you only had two things that he was messing up: his timing and his angle and his direction to the ball to get to it clean. Sure enough, I fixed it within a half hour.
Yeah.
He hit 94. Okay.
Hmm.
Went from 90, 86 to 94. And
Yeah.
then later, number weeks later, he got to 102. Okay. And this is before the season started for the most part. Then the season actually gets started. Season just ended now, the regular season technically. He hit 8 home runs. He hit four. His last 6 at bats, he hit 4 home runs, man. Four. I've never
Yeah.
done that. I've never
That's
done that
lights
anyway.
out, man.
So, anyways, it's just I'm
Yeah.
trying to get this guy out there because he's just nobody knows about it. He's going to a D2.
So you're
Okay.
related to Ron Gant?
Well, yeah, well, he's like Ron Gant. He's like Ron Gant. He's
Is he
fast too. He's
related?
fast, and he's got a high man. He's fast. He's got a good arm. Throws like 94, 95. Throws an
Okay.
outfielder. He can run. And I don't know. He's just one of those. You've seen the guys get drafted. You've
Yeah.
seen what we've.
Now,
And
is he a senior?
He's a senior, yeah. So I'm
Okay.
really trying to get him out there. And look,
Yeah.
if he goes to the D2 school, that's fine. I have nothing against D2. I'm just saying he's got D1 talent and he's also draftable. And I see
Mhm.
he should be drafted. Okay, I'm not. So I'm trying to help out a little bit more with like getting some of these people out there. Some people are like eighth grades, and I'm just like I
Mm.
just like showing off some of my hitters, to be honest too. And
Yeah.
then I also, like I said about the YouTube stuff, I want to do more on that and give real content and like how to fix this, how to do better here or whatever, or a lot of the mental stuff too. My first real video, I got it done, but I wanted to link some other ones to it. But it's on what do you do if you've been released, cut, or fired? And I've been all three. So
Right.
like
Right.
it gets into the mental stuff. How to react to it, what you could do, all that stuff. But I like that. But the
Right.
short form is fun. Keeps me active and out there and all that. But yeah, it's a grind as well for that, and it does take a lot of time. So,
Yeah.
but it is fun. So,
Very
yeah,
cool.
yeah,
Well, it's
yeah.
awesome, man. It's great catching up with you again.
Yeah,
You're
you too.
married. You got 15 and an 11-year-old. So
Oh
daddy,
yeah,
just going through the being a dad, it's a lot of fun. I know that too. So, man,
yeah.
best of luck to you out in Charlotte. Keep
Thank
grinding
you.
it out there, and it was great
Thank
catching
you.
up with you.
Yeah, good catching up with you too, bud. Yeah,
All
thanks
right.
for having me on here. It's great.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. And we'll see you in the next episode.